Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Shameless Freedom Podcast. And I am so excited to continue on with our series of the top 10 religious beliefs that get in the way of us owning our sexual freedom. The first we talked about was sex being evil. The second one that we talked about was in regards to pleasure and desire being sinful or indulgent. And today, what I want to do is dive deeper into the concept of sex being dirty. Now, before I dive into this, one of the things that I want to talk about is the fact that there are multiple layers within our belief systems in regards to sex, pleasure, and the body. And it can be easy to wrap them all into sex is evil. I've had people say to me, well, but sex is dirty, shameful, sinful, evil, right? That's all the same thing. Well, you could categorize it in that way. However, what I would open you up to be curious to explore is another layer of depth underneath what were you taught about sex and sexuality. And when I think of sex being dirty, like the whole concept really makes it seem like it's dirty, messy, shameful, that it's not sacred. And what I want to touch on first is what were you taught about sex? When I wrote my first book, one of the things that I asked everyone that I interviewed, and I got three answers. The first was nothing. No one told their parents or people didn't talk to them much about it. Two, don't do it till you're married. Or three, um, use protection. And okay, that kind of makes sense in today's society that that's like the minimal amount of information that people have been taught based upon their level of comfort and what they were taught themselves. And, but I want to go deeper to that. And in general, what are we taught as a society, especially in the Western world and Western culture? We are taught about the risks and dangers of physical intimacy. And what I mean by risks and dangers are we are taught be careful because you don't want to get pregnant. And we're also taught be careful because you don't want to get an STD, which those aren't wrong things to think about. However, in my experience and in many of the other experiences that I have spoken with other women, those are the things that we're taught. Like, don't give your body away. Be careful that you're not going to get pregnant, and be careful that you're not going to get an STD. And what I'd like to say is to open up the conversation to be deeper than risks and dangers. Because if you take a look at those two words, that's all the negative. We are talking about the negative components about it, the things to be worried and anxious about, as opposed to what they teach in other countries at a very young age, might I add. They teach about the pleasures and the responsibilities. And I want to just pause with that for a moment. Think about this. The pleasure and the responsibility versus the risks and the dangers. Two totally different ways of looking at this experience. And there's actually a well-known woman in the sex therapist world. Her name is Peggy Ornstein. And she actually has a TEDx talk out there that talks about a group of, I think it was college girls. And there was this survey between women in America and women in another country, and asking them questions about pleasure and sex and what they were taught and why do they do things and what do they feel, etc. And what's amazing about this is that the girls that were surveyed that lived in another country had less trauma, less wounding, less rape, more love, less divorce, right? Like in the world, whereas we in the Western civilization, we're so focused on the anxious, worried parts, the risks and dangers. Nobody wants their daughter to get pregnant at 16 or whatever age it may be. No, nobody wants that. But when you teach about sexuality as sacred, as an intimate experience where the body is meant to experience pleasure, that it is more than just physical pleasure. There is physical pleasure, there is connection. There are so many things that come into play when you think about this sacred experience, whether it is with yourself or with someone else. That in itself, we were also told was dirty. Think about a girl connecting with her own body, playing with herself. You know, I actually met a woman at a networking event sometime in the last month or so, and she told me that she actually talks to her young daughters about self-pleasure. And she makes it a point to let them know it is not dirty. It is not shameful. It is a part of who you are. And when we teach our young girls to love that part of their self, because I guarantee you, every little girl explores, it's their body, right? Like whether someone has told them to do it or not to do it, you're going to play and you're going to touch and you're going to experience. And if we tell them that it's dirty right off the bat, we have created this imprint of what the female body is, even at such a young age. And I think we have a lot to learn from European or other cultures that are not in the Western world because they teach about the body, pleasure, sex as being sacred, not something that is dirty. And when you have this thought that it's dirty, it's wrong, it's shameful, how can you even think about enjoying the experience? There are many, many women that I know that they get excited and want to be with their partners when it's time to have a baby, and then it kind of falls off the radar because it's not something that's important to them. Having the baby, the outcome, getting pregnant was important. So they didn't think about the whole it's dirty at this point because there's another focus, right? But when you are enjoying physical intimacy for the sake of physical intimacy, it's not dirty. It can be sacred. And you know what? Here's the truth too. If you want to have dirty sex, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's a whole other different topic, right? It's a whole other different episode. But what I want to bring attention to here is this. You're not alone if you were taught that sex was dirty. Here, from my own personal journey, I can remember wanting this physical intimacy. And I wanted the experience, but yet didn't understand why I couldn't have the experience that I truly wanted to have. And even after the whole sex is evil awareness came about, and it opened the door, but then it created new things to look at, such as this is dirty. Like I want to do it, I want to experience it, but yet I'm still shy. I'm still nervous. I still don't know what I'm doing. Like I remember when I started opening up and I had been with a partner and was shy and reserved and I asked for feedback, right? Like this is what you do in a partnership. And he just said, Jen, you're just quiet. That's it. And and I can remember feeling triggered and feeling hurt that like I don't want to just be quiet. Like I want to like fully enjoy this experience, but to be quite honest with you, I didn't really know what that meant. Like I only know what I've seen in movies. Um, but yet I knew there was more than what I was allowing myself to experience. And again, you might see something in a movie and be like, oh, that's really hot. I'd really like to experience that. But if your body and your belief system thinks that's dirty, you shouldn't do that. You're not going to be able to allow yourself to have that experience. And so after he and I had this conversation, I can remember, I don't want to say retreating, but like going inward and being like, okay, what do I need to do here? Because this is really bothering me. And I think this happens for a lot of women, and we don't know how to go internally and to dig deeper into that trigger, that wound. Um, and this is a great prime example of when like men pull away, right? In this particular instance, I had this like anxiety I was kind of dealing with in regards to wanting to be a better sexual partner and not think it's dirty. But he could feel my energy, even though there were no words spoken. And it's that dichotomy of one pulls away, the other one wants to go this way, right? It's that type of thing. And I remember wanting to feel like I wanted to reach back out and ask him questions about things. And just kept coming back to me and did some of the embodiment practices I had been learning. And there was one day I remember waking up and did one of these activities and I I cried, I screamed, I peed in my pants, like all at the same time. It's like any bodily function that could happen happened. And I remember laying on the floor, just weeping. And the reason for that is because I wanted so much more in my sexuality. You see, I had lived in this sexless marriage for 20 years. And I didn't want to feel dirty or messy, right? Like, here I am, I've had four children. Like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna pee on a guy, right? That's dirty in itself. Like, how many women have had that concern, especially after having children, that they don't want to be embarrassed about, first of all, the way their body looks, but second of all, how their body responds or reacts. We don't want to fart or queef or pee or whatever in the moment. Like that in itself sounds dirty. And what I remember claiming that experience was that I wanted to release the shame and the dirtiness around how I felt about my body. You see, I was angry that my sex life had sucked for so years, that when I thrusted, I would pee in my pants. I know many of you know what I'm talking about, right? I was out of shape, out of breath. I never really learned how to express myself with a man. I never really experienced the pleasures of sex. I had no clue what to say, how to make a noise. I didn't want to try and then say something wrong. I didn't want to like try to talk dirty and sound like an idiot and then like be all in my head, right? Like I never had a guy truly desire me. Never tapped into that like wild side. And when I had this moment, I finally claimed I am tired about thinking that this is dirty or that I'm going to leak on a guy or make a mess. I want to just let myself go. I don't want to give a flying fuck about anything. Say what I want, scream if I want to, ask for what I want, say yes if I want to, say no if I want to, pee if I have to, squirt if it happens, ejaculate, whatever it is. Make a goddamn fucking mess and enjoy every minute of it. And that's the whole thing. You know what? Make a mess. You know what? Sex, it can be messy, but it doesn't have to be messy in a dirty, ugly way. It can be messy in a sacred and beautiful way when you have two bodies connecting together, whether you are having oral experiences or you are having physical genital experiences, right? I mean, the body is always excreting something. And it's important to understand what your belief system is in regards to that. Because if you are not having the mind-blowing, pleasurable experiences that you desire, that you know are out there, I would encourage you to open up. Is sex being dirty and messy maybe a belief that you have underneath it all? Is it about sex itself being dirty? Is it about the body being dirty? Is it certain parts of your body being dirty, right? Like, and what does that mean to you? What did you make it mean? And how could you shift that? Shifting out of the whole concept that sex is dirty and shameful and reframe it as, you know, messy can be fun, right? When you allow yourself to let go, get out of your head. You know, here's the thing too. When you can allow yourself to be in the moment, any physical moment, no one is judging you. When you get out of your head and you allow yourself to be, it's not naming it as dirty or messy. It is being in the moment and enjoying whatever shows up. And if we can shift that mindset from dirtiness and shameful and bad and wrong to appreciating it for the beauty that it is, do not let it have power over us, for us to enjoy, to embrace, to let go, to reclaim a new paradigm, a new belief in our bodies, to allow ourselves to bring that joy and that pleasure and those fun, messy experiences to be some of the best ones that you may have in your lifetime. So, if you have enjoyed this conversation, stay tuned for more because this is only number 3, right? We've talked about sex being evil, about pleasure and desire being sinful and indulgent. and now sex being dirty, messy, and shameful. And stay tuned as we dive into the next concept next week, where we're going to dive deeper, continue to peel away the layers. And here's the other thing, too. As you are listening, the phrase I may say might not resonate, but there might be another phrase that because you're hearing this, you're in this energy, you're in this space, you may think, oh my gosh, like I have a different belief I never thought of based on the things I heard Jen say. Great. That's what we need this conversation to do, to open up to the possibilities of what are the things that are getting in the way of you enjoying your sexual freedom, enjoying your full embodied body as a woman. And if you are ready for more, I invite you to join our Shameless Freedom Mastermind, where we dive deeper into these topics and we move through layer by layer together as a sisterhood. I also have a women's temple that is happening in May. And if you are not ready to dive deep, but you're curious and you want to connect more deeply with your body, you want that sacred space in that container, I invite you to check out what our Shameless Freedom Temple is all about. It is a sacred container where you get the opportunity to be held in this sacred space of loving your body, loving your desires, feeling what shows up for you, and learning how to be in the present moments and enjoying all of the different aspects of your body and your sexuality as a woman.